Hi, it's Steve. Today we'd like to show you how to change the drain pump on your front load washer. It's a really easy job. Let me show you how we do it. Now, to do this repair, we'll first of all need to disconnect power to the washer. So pull it far enough forward that we can unplug it. We'll also need to turn off the inlet water supply and remove the fill hoses as well as the drain hose. Then we can pull that washer far enough forward we can get at the access panel. Now that we have complete access to the back panel, our next step is to remove the 2 retaining screws. Just pull up slightly on that panel to disengage the 2 tabs on the bottom, tilt it out, and then let it drop down, and we'll set that aside. Now next we'll want to have some container or some towels to clean up any excess water, because as we remove both the drain hose and the inlet to the pump, there will be some water in that area. Now with the access panel removed, our next step will be to disconnect the outlet drain hose from the pump. So just reach in and depress that clamp, slide it up onto the hose, and you can use pliers if you find it a little snug. And here's where we'll need some towels to collect any water that might be in that drain hose. Just twist that off of the outlet and then tuck it out of the way. Now we'll also need to remove the inlet to the pump. So reach in behind, squeeze that clamp, slide it up onto the hose, and pull it off of the inlet to the pump. Now the pump is held in place with 3 mounting bolts, and they're either a number 12 millimeter socket or a number 3 Phillips screwdriver. We'll remove those 3 bolts. All 3 bolts loosened, we'll just pull those out and set them aside. I also have a wire harness connection into the side of the pump, and it's a little difficult to feel that locking tab on that connector, but there's enough room now with the hoses removed that we can pivot the pump around and we can actually see that connector. We can press that little locking tab, disconnect the harness, and pull that whole pump assembly completely out of the washer. We'll discard that. Take our new pump assembly. It may appear slightly different in that the motor is tilted up a little higher. We'll set it down into place. Begin by reconnecting the wire harness connector to the pump motor. Press it in until the locking tab engages and rotate it around. We'll next install that inlet hose to the pump. Make sure we press it firmly on until it bottoms out. And then we'll slide the clamp up into place. Just verify that that hose is on all the way. Now we'll begin by lining up one of the bolts. Just thread it by hand till we know we have it, the thread started. And do the same with the remaining 2. Once we have all 3 started, we can tighten them up. Next Next we'll put the drain hose back on. Make sure the check valve is in place and not jammed. Slide that hose all the way onto the pump. And squeeze the clamp and position it in between those ribs. And now we're ready to put the access panel back on. Now we're ready to put the access panel back in place. We'll start by keeping the long tabs facing up. Slide them into the slotted openings. Press it against the back of the cabinet. And then press downward until both bottom tabs are engaged. If it's pressed down into place, the screw holes should line up. And now we can push the washer back into position. We're now ready to reconnect our fill hoses, our drain hose, and the power, and your repair is complete.